dreams can have the courage to pursue them. Guten Morgen. This is a morning greet in German. A very glorious morning to all respected dignitaries and dear students. Today, I, Neha Najwani, welcomes you all on behalf of Mysore University. Today, we are so fortunate that we have Mr. Mohanprasad Marappan, sir, the strategy head of one of the largest multinational company named Siemens. Siemens is a German multinational company and a focused technology corporation headquartered in Munich, which offer a wide range of electrical engineering and electronics related products and services. Mr. Marappan sir is the General Manager of Strategy and Quality Management of Siemens, versatile and diverse experience. Currently, he is working in Mumbai. I am so glad to have sir with us today. Now, I would like to request Rupshika Sharma and Neeta Nadwani to welcome the sir on behalf of Mysore University. Please put your hands together. Now, without taking too much time, I would like to invite Mr. Marappan sir to guide us with his precious words. So, please put your hands together.
Thank you, sir. So, sir, frankly speaking, I was not expecting this. Thank you for all the welcome, and yeah, hope it's audible. So, thank you for all this, and it's a young crowd, and I hope I do justice for the time what you have given to me today. So, Siemens is all about my life, and how do I define Siemens? For those who know about this company, how long this history is. Like our country, we go 175 years backwards to look at when was Siemens started. And it has got a specific connect to India. Anyone aware about it? The first project of Siemens is about running the telegraph line from London to Kolkata. This was the first project, and that's when Siemens came in, or say for an example, is that stepped out after Germany. And from that time of inventing telegraph, or say for an example, is that making the first electric rail, or to an extent of today, we have a workplace experience app, which is something which is launched in 2020. So innovation is one thing which drives us. So what we find and what we patented. So we are number 3 in terms of patent in the world. Right. So the point here is, I think it all came from minds like you and encouraging people like you. Siemens cannot do all this on their own. So it's all these young minds who have helped us, who joined us, who have shared their thought with us. So that's where we are able to be the number 3 in terms of patenting. An important aspect is today, if anyone asks, okay, which company you wanted to work, or say for an example is that what is that touching everybody's life? There's something I can say is Android and iOS, right? So everyone has got either an Apple or they have Google. Right? So now these two are what? These two are operating systems, and it is touching your life. But how does Siemens touch your life? Is also, we have an operating system called Mindspace, and this is the third operating system after Apple and Google, I would say, which is for the industry. So if you come to the industry, when you finish your academics, when you come to the industry, and whichever industry you are in, and if you look for an operating system for the industry to thrive, you will find this Mindspace name in that particular list. So that's what I would say as an introduction of Siemens. And I have a very long presentation. I hope I won't be boring. But I will try to keep as engaging as possible. You can interrupt me if you have any pressing questions. And say, for an example, is that you have any doubt, you wanted to share anything, please do stop me in between. So as Sir, your Vice Chancellor said in the beginning, we are going to talk about smart campus, right? So what is smart campus to you all? What else we call it as smart? We know what is smartphone, right? We know what is being smart, right? Exactly opposite to be trying to be smart, right? So you guys are smart. You are the smart brains. Here, what we are looking at is about how do we connect things. Is what is smartness is. I'm talking about how does this particular presentation being connected here. This is of the last decade. But how do I connect this HVAC system? How do I connect this lighting system? How do I connect the car which is parked over the parking? Everything in this particular university which moves, which lives, if you are able to connect all together, is what I would believe this as being a smartness. So one is about getting it connected. And second aspect is about sustainability. Today, I don't know whether you calculated, but I calculated in terms of how much travel do I do, and in that particular travel, how much CO2 have I burnt. Either it is about going in a flight or taking a car, or whatever it is. But the point here is that sustainability is the second topic. So one is about connectedness, second is about sustainability. So what does sustainability mean for a campus? So it's about energy what we consume, right? So the energy what we use today, be it this light which is glowing here, or the temperature what is keeping us in comfort. So the energy what we consume and where it is produced. And second is about all the resources, be it water, or say for an example, any other resources which is required for us to live inside this particular campus. Is it coming from a sustainable source? Are we reusing it? All that is what I would put it into in terms of what the future is looking for in terms of smart campus. I have only 4 topics for today when we talk about smart campus. And I'm sure that there are specific ones which is related to partnership, which we already had a meeting in the morning. First, talking about campus experience. What does campus experience mean for you and me? I would say we all live in 90% of the time inside a campus. Now, what does that campus mean? Let it be your apartment, your home, which is your building. Say, for an example, a collective of building. You are inside that particular building. And when you move from it, you take a transport. So today the transport is, let's say, an airport or a metro, still a building, still an infrastructure, right? And when you move in from that and get into your campus, is an infrastructure. Your campus is an infrastructure. The ISRO Space Center is an infrastructure. The International Space Station is an infrastructure. The hospital you visit is an infrastructure. So the 90% of the time we live indoors, right? It is the 10% of the time we either move out for about moving from place A to place B, or say for an example to play our games, or say for an example is that we wanted to go for a walk and etc. So 10% of the time is what you are outside. But when you are inside the building for the 90% of the time, you take example of this room, your campus, how this particular campus experience could be. Now I have a very detailed slide which can map you from the time you walk into this campus and you leave home. What does it happen? What is your need? It's all upcoming. But the first point, what I'm trying to say is about when you are inside an infrastructure, how is the particular infrastructure giving you the so-called experience? Are you going to talk to your, let's say, neighbor, or say, for example, your parent? Okay, I visited this wow campus. This is the campus I wanted to be in. And I like the most being in the campus rather than being somewhere else. So does that particular infrastructure give you that particular experience? So that is what point number 1, which I would like to highlight today. The second one is the operation excellence. Here, It may not be applicable for everyone in this particular room, students, say for an example, but for the people who run this particular university, operation excellence is the most aim. Is the light operating today so that this room can be lit? Or say for an example, is there a uninterrupted power supply for this particular university which ensures me talking to this particular mic? Or say for an example, we are in this particular comfortable temperature, say 22 or 21.1, whatever it is right now in this temperature. There are people who think about this all the time in this university, just to keep everyone in comfort and at the same time everything operationalized. So that's what we mean with related to operation excellence. And here we're talking about assets, we're talking about people. We'll see more details in the upcoming slide. The last one in this side is sustainability. So I would say Siemens is equal to sustainability. How do I define it? So whatever we do, whatever we think, say for an example is that, are we going to do a solution which is going to be sustainable for the next 100 years? Or are we going to do a solution which is just going to be for the next 20 years? Example, are we going to go for solar or are we going to go for coal power plant? There's a difference, right? Because coal is going to perish. So you will not be able to consume it more, and at the same time that the CO2 in which it is getting generated. But at the same time, green energy is abundant. We're looking at now battery storage and all that particular stuff. Our factory in Kalua, in Mumbai, is running on 50% of solar. The car where I park, the roof has got a roof solar. And if I look at your own campus, what we have the solar energy powering up. So there are thoughts today where we want it to be sustainable, right? And we all apply this particular thing in our daily lives. I think how many of you are thinking to go for the electric car? I'm sure the next time you go and buy a car, when you are ready to buy a car, I'm sure that it's not going to be diesel. And for petrol, you think twice: should I buy it now or should I buy it after a few years when the electric is completely infrastructure is ready? So while we think in our personal lives sustainability, it is also important that we as a campus, we as a solution provider, also think with related to sustainability as one of the important topics. The last one is partnership. So here is where what we as Siemens, what do we bring into the university? We cannot bring in knowledge. You are the guys who has got all the knowledge, right? And it is from you. I've learned it. I was a student. I learned it in the university, and I'm going to apply. But what is that Siemens can bring into this particular university? Siemens can bring in experience, right? Whatever I was taught, whatever you are being taught today, you're going to apply it in your projects. You're going to apply it in your professional life. What does that give you? It gives you experience, right? So 150 years, only in India, we're talking about what we give. We give an experience. So we have the knowledge which is gained out of experience. And when we gain that particular experience, it is just not for us. It is also important that we share it back to the academics. And also, we learn it also from the academics, so that when these two worlds merge in, we become partners. And that's what we mean by partnership, and we will also see more in detail in the upcoming slide. So any questions before I move on the previous topics? Good, so campus experience. Now, I mentioned about, environment. I mentioned about safety and security. Now, your university is ensuring today the way I entered this particular university, the security guard came to me, okay, who you want to meet? What's your name? Which company are you coming from? Please get on, make an entry. And he checked me, he checked my car, looking at it in terms of, and then he said that, okay, you cannot just go into my university, I'm going to come to the dean's office. So the point here is there is someone ensuring that you students here are safe, right? Or I would say when it comes to secure, I would say the security. At the same time, there is something which is keeping you in this particular room with related to what we breathe in. And at the same time, there is no fire hazard, for an example. There are enough exit routes and etc. So someone has thought about it to ensure that you are safe and secure. But is it enough? When it comes to, we spoke about connected, right? I saw a doctor sitting in the entrance, right? Yes, there is a, how do I put it? In every campus, you have somebody who's there to always help you. So let's say I'm presenting right now, and I just faint down. What will you do? You're going to call him, right? You're going to call him, and he's going to do maybe say for an example a first aid or a CPR, whatever it is. But someone has to call him, someone has to run to him. What happens if the particular person is not there? Which means he might be gone to another building, he might have been in the party, he might be in the canteen having his coffee, for an example. But with a click of a button, or say for an example, your security, or right here with my mobile phone, if I'm able to confirm he is in so and so location, and for him to come here and do a CPR for me, it may take, say for an example, 15 minutes, which is not good enough, right? So do I wait for that particular doctor, or I look for the security guard who's there in the entrance, who is trained in CPR, say for an example, doing a first aid. He is the right person to make me alive. So this is what I would say is connectedness. And that is the comfort we are talking about when we are giving you an example of a smart campus. And that's the smartness, an example which I would like to give you. Talking about sustainability, we have CO2, solar, lot many things which we have discussed. But one important aspect which I wanted to give you is all about conserving, reuse, lot many things which is involved in that particular thing. Solar is not just one answer we are talking about. We are also talking about recycling things, zero waste. How can I call this university is equal to zero waste? What waste we produce, we reuse it, we consume it back again, right? So we all know that electricity can be generated from waste. But beyond that, there is a lot of energy which is produced here. There's a lot of things which we consume, which can be consumed from the waste. Now that's what we're talking about in sustainability, not just about CO2 we are talking about. And also, importantly, if you look at it, what is the edge for this university over the other university, not just in this place, not just in this country? How can this be distinguished? When you look at sustainability as a important aspect, what does we say? We are looking at in terms of giving the edge. Why am I looking at, okay, today going in a cycle is a fashion statement. Beyond that, it is also equal to, say, for an example, displaying that I am being healthy, right? But here as well, when we practice sustainability in all aspects we're talking about, when it comes to energy, when it comes to waste, this gives you the edge. And I go out proudly and say, today I visited a university which is producing zero waste. Whether it is energy we're talking about, whether it is water consumption we're talking about, or any other waste which is produced in this particular university. Now that's where we are being very specific. Siemens is equal to sustainability because we practice it. And we are going carbon neutral, or say for an example, zero emission, including all our factories by 2030. We already have our KPIs. We just don't tell this to our customers, and also I just don't speak. I also, when you come to our campus, someday I can invite you, some of you, to my campus to show you what the smart campus is, or a smart factory is. I can show you the results of what we have been doing it from last year, like 2013, till now. What is that we have been implementing, not just in us, in some of our customers. So that's the important aspect of sustainability. Operational efficiency is the campus paying for what it is spending. The question is it an investment? Is it an expenditure? Or whatever you are spending, is it recovered within the campus? Not by you and me paying an extra fee to that particular thing, but also importantly that what we give in, is it coming back to us as an ROI? This is specifically for the people who are looking at the facility management of this particular campus. That is one aspect. Second aspect, there's a lot of human resources. Right now, we have a lot of people here, let's say for an example, this team here who's helping us to set up. There's a lot of people who are helping with related to gardening, cleaning, security guard. A lot of people, that's also a resource. Now, am I looking at a 100% utilization? One example I would like to give you. When you go into a smart campus, this is what you get to see. You can call this as an airport or an etc. Let's say I have got two people who are cleaning the toilets. Giving a simple example, okay? A toilet or a pantry, whatever you can call it. Now, what does it decide? Do I need two people for that particular area? Let's say I have got two toilets and I have assigned two people. What will get you to decide, do I need two people or one person is good enough? Or maybe half a person is good enough? How do I find out? Anybody?
As per the workload.
Okay. Next. Now, very good measurement as per the workload. Efficiency of? Okay. Yes, you can look at the efficiency of the person whenever you assign a task, whether he's completing it on time and etc. Yes. But there is one more important aspect.
The surface area to be cleaned.
Surface area to be clean, yes. Okay. I'll give you the answer. So when you go into the washroom, let's say you have this light, you put in a motion sensor. The simplest thing, right? When people walk in, that light is going to on. When people walk out, it's going to off, right? The motion sensor is what? It's a click. It senses. The number of footfall inside the particular toilet decides, do I need 2%, 1%, or a half a person? How do I do it? I measure the number of times this light sensor clicks. So you just connect to this particular sensor, which is already producing a lot of data. Every time somebody comes in, it switches on a light, but we don't use the data to decide something with related to an operation efficiency. Right? So you need to look at the footfall. There is one toilet where 100 people are using. There is another toilet where only 12 people are using. So do I need a dedicated person over there, or do I need a dedicated person here? Or do I need just a half a person? I have 2 floors. I just need one person to clean 4 the toilets. So this is just a daily life example which I wanted to give you. So this can be applied to a motor. This can be applied to something which is, let's say, for an example, the lift. How am I prolonging the aging of the equipment? How many of you know that the mobile phones, what you have, when you drain it completely to zero, when it shuts off, right, completely saying no battery and it goes down, there is a cycle in which it counts. That gives you, like, I'm sure many of you have read it, saying that you shouldn't allow your battery to go to X percentage. You should charge it, right? And you should not leave it charged for the entire night. It is harmful for your battery. What does it say? It is telling you how to keep your mobile battery healthy. And that's what is operational efficiencies. So how am I going to look at the asset efficiency? How am I going to look at people efficiency? And that is what most important for the university as a whole. It's not just about consuming, but at the same time, am I consuming it to the fullest? And is it coming from the right resources? Is it coming from, say for an example, is the efficiency of the resources? So these are the topic which is coming under the operational efficiency. Any question before I go into the partnership topic? You can ask me any question. Anything from the previous slide. Anything is not there in this slide. I'm open for. Okay. So coming to partnership. So as far as partnership is concerned, I just wanted to give some real life examples, which I'm part of. So we collaborated with the university to launch the first program of engineering in building technologies. Yeah? Why did we do it? Why did we help the university to do that? Today, I'm here because of such infrastructure. But why did we do it? Why are we are a company who wanted to make money, right? Every company wanted to make money. But why do we do that? I do have a personal interest here. When I hire some of you, I'm talking about, let's say, the best out of this particular batch. I hire you as what? Electrical engineer, computer science engineer, right? ECE, giving examples. But for you to convert him into a building technologies engineer, it takes 18 months. We don't produce metro engineers, right? We see that we're talking about, hundreds of metros and airports. Is going to come up. Do you produce the person who can build this airport? And we produce civil engineers, yes, for sure. But easy focus towards the specifics. Because a metro is different from an airport is different from a hospital. The need in these particular things is different. So we wanted to cut down this time of 18 months to 6 months. The day one you walk into my campus, the day one you come in, let's say as an intern, as an employee on board, I want you to talk about, not just, the PLCs. I want to talk to about specific. I want you guys to understand what is backnet already. And I just don't want you guys to just talk about TCP/IP. I want you guys to talk about cybersecurity, the day one. So the time of 18 months, this is what I get in return when I invest my knowledge, or say for an example, so I was talking about the gas structure and etc. When we do this particular thing, that's what we call it as partnership. And so I was also asking, okay, which university have we done a smart campus and etc. So one of the IIT, what we have done is this IIT is being powered by green power. Not only that, this IIT has decided to adopt 2 villages nearby this university, wherein they also ensure this village doesn't pay the EB bill. Also, they get help agriculture. They get the cow dung, convert that into gas power, and also whatever waste which is produced is given as a fertilizer back to the particular village. And we give the technology, we give the experience, and rest is delivered by the IIT. Now that's is what is an example of partnership which I wanted to give it, and that's what we mean by sharing our experience. Because academics, you guys are the king, you guys know everything. I'm not going to come and teach you what about technology is, what is the protocol is, but I'm going to tell you the experience. I'm going to do the projects for you. I'm going to show you how it is done, and I'm going to share my practical experience, and that is what we mean by partnership. Any questions? Hope it's not boring. And if some topic is not understood, please do interrupt me. I can repeat it and I can explain maybe with a little more example. Why we need to transform? Why we need to change is a question. Let's say, for an example, it's not about upgrading it from a phone which can do the same functionality for 10K, but I am purchasing a phone which is 150K, and I still does the same thing: make a call, use a WhatsApp. But why we need to transform is also important. That's not the example which I'm trying to give. The example what I wanted to give is this. You can see the list of topics. This is what I would call it as a challenges. What is being faced? Today, if you take a paper and if you write down what are all the list of challenges each one of us in this particular room face in this university. I'm talking about university as an example, as an infra. Like, if you are thinking about this particular room, you can come up with one thing you wanted to change in this particular room, right? And if you wanted to, look at it, the university as a whole, I think maybe 10 more things which you as an individual wanted to say, okay, I want this to change, this to better. Likewise, people who run this particular university also knows what is better for you. They think about it every day, right? That's the first and foremost thing. It's not about just the budget. It's not about the investment and the funds. They're worried whether the fund, what they put in, is it going in the right place? You as a student who's occupying in this particular room, are you getting benefited with that particular fund? That's what the university thinks day in and day out, right? It's not about how much is being spent. It's all about how it is being consumed and how is the benefit which is coming up. The second aspect is aging infra, right? You buy a car, after 5 years, 7 years, it becomes old, right? How are you prolonging it? Some of your friends or some of your colleagues might have kept a car for 10 years and still it looks new. You will think about what my car is looking old and I want to change now. It's just 4 years, 5 years. But look at the other car, which is 10 years old, still looks new. Now that's an example in real life. The same thing is what for every infrastructure. You take this particular projector for an example. Yeah. So this projector has got a life. When this particular thing which is glowing, yeah. So this lens, so whatever you call it, the aging of this is important. There may be another projector in this floor. There may be another room in this particular floor. Are we measuring which particular projector is being consumed more? Are we talking about in the 5 years? Are we going to measure saying that okay, the life of a projector is 7 years? Now we are at the 6.5 years. Next year I have to change it. Is that the decision am I going to make, or am I going to measure which projector was consumed, how many number of hours? Did I use it equally? Am I able to make this projector, which can work for 7 years, to little longer to 10 years? Or can I buy a new projector because I was able to extend this particular thing without spending on the 10th year? So that's what we're talking about in the aging infrastructure. The next aspect is safety and security. So when it comes to safety and security, can anyone give an example of what does it mean? What are the challenges with related to safety and security? Any example? What comes to your mind?
The operation of railways
Okay.
is properly safe and properly secure.
Mm-hmm.
It guarantees the safety of the passengers as well as the security of the passengers and smooth operation of the trains.
Correct. Zero harm. How many number of hours it went without having any incident? That's the measurement, which says that okay, it has never failed. Today, if you look at the railways, we are looking at in terms of, let's say, how much times the doors are opening and closing. It's not just about the motor, but it's also the door. Saying that, okay, this door is having the most wear and tear in that particular compartment, for example. Now here, if you look at safety and security more in this particular room or in your personal life, or let's say for an example, you wake up, you come to the university, you go back, right? So what does safety and security mean to you?
Mask and sanitizer.
Very good. Good example.
Safe commute.
Safe commute.
Safe traveling.
Okay. So do we put seat belt? Do we have an airbag in the car while I sit? Does the driver has carry a small fire extinguisher? You see a lot of cars burning, right? In the sense, I'm saying at least once in a month you see some car which is going up in flames. So if such things happen, it doesn't have. So now inside this particular thing, what do I care right now? Let's say we have here about 100 people. So what should be my pressing thing in my mind with related to safety? Let's say if there is an incident. Okay, it doesn't happen often, but at times it happens. Let's think of about a very worst scenario which will never happen, even not in our dreams. Let's say if there is a gunman outside this particular campus. Someone is attacking. Okay? We know our 26 level, right? Someone is attacking. What should we be doing? What will you do if there is a gunman outside and someone tells you there is a gunman? What will you do?
Off the gate.
Sorry?
Off the gate.
You lock the gate, okay?
Call the police.
Call the police. Second. Inform security guard, yes. You know what? It took longer. It took what, about 24 hours for the Taj thing to end? You know what was the reason? The reason is that people did not know what is happening inside. At the same time, the terrorists inside exactly know what is happening outside from the television. They know who's moving from what direction and everything they know. But the people outside did not know what exactly, how many people are there, who's the hostage, what are the damage. This is the only thing which was delaying this particular thing, right? Before we barge in the energy commandos came in, etc. But the point here is, what's happening outside? You heard there is a gunman. But is it true or false? This is the first thing you want to verify, right? And you have to remain silent. You have to decide whether you can make noise, run out of it. Like, say for an example, oh, earthquake, just evacuate the building. Vice versa, we are supposed to hide inside, go on our chairs and table, and lock ourselves in. Right? The example what you said, just to ensure that no one exists in this room. The person outside should not know that there are 100 people here. Now, how do I know this? How do I communicate it? Without investing, again, I'm talking about this is say, okay, I need technology, I need connectivity, but I can do it tomorrow. I can do it. How can I do it?
You can give the CCTV access to the police or the person.
But how will you know inside this room?
You can access this.
Yeah, but provided you were already part of the administrator and you know it. But how I as a visitor, or you, how will you know? Your mobile phones. Everybody has got a CCTV camera. All I need is put a small app into that particular thing with an emergency button. Right? So, what we do, this is what I demonstrate. All I can do is pick up my mobile phone, switch on this particular app, leave it outside this particular door, and come in, lock it. Now, I know what's happening outside, I know what's happening in the gate, because everybody is turning into a mobile camera. And this is the technology which exists today. We use what is the technology on your hand, right? So this is something which we use. Let's say I asked one of the female employees to travel to a project site. Okay? So at times, some mishaps happen, be it an accident or somebody's threatening and etc. Now this female employee, with a click of a button, can send her video, a live video, and also getting recorded to my control room, telling that this is happening, and also saying that this is happening at so-and-so GPS location, because today your mobile phone is going to come up with the coordinates, right? It's going to tell me what is the latitude and longitude. So you need not panic, you need not call anybody, all you have to do is click a button and leave it in your dashboard or your packet, whatever it is, but the control room knows that at so-and-so GPS coordinate there is an emergency. The worst thing I can do, or the best thing I can do, is call up the nearby police station and say, please send somebody to this particular location. So these are something which we look at it in terms of safety and security. It's not about having more security guard. It's not about having more technology. It's not about increasing, okay, even if you convert 200 cameras into 2,000 cameras, still there is something called as blind spot. If you're standing under the camera cannot see you. Right? Today we are looking at fisheye or 360-degree camera, etc. But everywhere you cannot have it. But with this, by putting a mobile app onto your mobile phones, we enable this particular functionality. So that's what comes to my mind when I'm into think of about safety and security. So I saw lot many problems, many scenarios. Again, I go back to you saying that take a paper, write down the list of things which is coming to your mind on safety and security. How do I solve it? It's not about investment, it's about the right investment. Whether it is big or small is different. A mobile app is not going to cost you guys can develop this particular thing. But the point here is the problem which this is solving is enormous. And that's what we're talking about, the digital transformation. We're not going old school of laying cables, connecting devices, increasing number of cameras. So coming to this particular topic, sustainability expected. Now here, if you look at what was your expectation? You're starting from your home, right? You wake up, you get ready, and you're now going to the university. What is that you expect? From your home till the university, what is your expectation when you think of the sustainability?
To use more renewable resources.
Yeah, so we want to drive an electric car, yes. What else? You wanted to have a clean air. Whether you cycle, you walk, you take a bus, you take a car, you wanted to ensure the air which you breathe should be clean, right? And how does it come? It comes if everybody in this particular town thinks about sustainability. If one industry doesn't care about this sustainability, if one campus, one hotel, or one person who's running something in and around this particular town is not thinking about sustainability, then you won't have clean air. then we all will be with new normal of wearing mask always. We have seen this, right? That's what's happening in Delhi. So sustainability expectation is as simple as that, to an extent of the image of this particular campus, saying that I spoke about the zero waste in the previous example. Here, when it comes to retaining students, what does it mean? This I would call it as the wow factor. What is the wow factor? I'm not sure about your guys. I think when you come for the interview, I think this should be one of the questions. I've seen lot many people interviewing. What do they care right now? Beyond the package, beyond what industry they get into, what do they care right now? They care? Sorry? Good working environment. They say, what kind of office I'm going to have? Right? So 10 years back, we all spoke about Google Office. Right? In Hyderabad, we said this is the kind of office anyone should work for. Now people are saying Google Office is old. Look at the LinkedIn Office. Right? And today with new normal or remote experience, what we call it is, we call this as workspace experience. We measure this every day, whether you like this campus, whether you like this chair what you sit in, whether you like this washroom you walk into, whether you like the infrastructure what you are using today. So do I have a measurement, and how do I do it? Do I put a checklist and feedback form and send it to everyone? No. How is Amazon measuring the things what you buy? Every service what they deliver, how do they measure?
Customer.
So out of 5 stars, you go and click 2 star, 2.5 star. Do you give a star for this 2 hours? What are you going to spend? Is it possible? If I ask everyone to give me a star, or for this particular room, okay, you sat in this particular room for 2.5 hours. Did you like it? Is it 5 star or is it 1.5 star? How do I know? Again, going back to the mobile experience, because that's a computer in your hand. This room is linked as a location, and that location can have star rating, just like you rate the hotel. And same, the lighting sensors which I'm talking about. If I have 2 rooms, let's say you go to work, or say for an example that as a staff, you go for a meeting. There are 2 meeting rooms in a floor. You walk into the first meeting room and you walk out of it and you go to the second meeting room. This happens for the first time, this happens for the second time, this happens for the third time. Now what's wrong? Why is people walking into the first meeting room and then after 5 minutes they walk out of it and then go and occupy the second meeting room? What's wrong with this?
Lack of clarity.
Okay. What is it? Let's say if that room is having a projector or a TV in which you wanted to project something, or the room is having a air conditioner, if the room is having a light, there are multiple possibilities. There is a light which is flickering. People find that yeah, this room is not good. I'm not able to concentrate. Let's go to the other room. The AC here is too hot. This room is not good. Let's go to the other room. This TV is flickering, or say for an example, this projector is dull. Let me go to the other room. Now, you can figure it out as a person who's managing this particular infrastructure by going and asking or going and checking everything, or just by people movement. There is a dashboard which tells you something wrong with this particular meeting room. How many of you care about, let's say you have a soap dispenser and that soap dispenser is empty. How many of you care about complaining for it? Will you go call for a person, find out who's responsible for it, tell them, okay, there is a toilet and there is a soap dispenser which is empty, please fill it, I want to use next time. Do you spend that time? It's like Airtel and Vodafone calling you for feedback. You disconnect it in what? Half a second? Saying the moment they say Airtel, I said I don't want to talk to you. You don't want to give a feedback, right? Who's having time to give a feedback? But at the same time, you don't need to search if you are having something called as like the star button where you can press it. And again, here I'm not talking about putting 5-star lights everywhere and say, okay, press this way. I'm talking about right in your mobile phone. This is what we call it as the experience app, the infrastructure experience. And we do this widely in workspace, but this is something which we call it as the campus experience also. So you can apply this to every single aspect of what you use. So we call this as a journey of a student in a campus, and that's what we call it as the retaining students in terms of what is that we need to look at it in terms of the experience, what we call. So we'll see more in the detail, but so far I've spoken many examples. Any questions? Now I'm not going to move ahead without a question. Any questions? Is it clear to you all of what I said so far? Is it making sense?
But don't you think that we are making some of the systems complicated by digitalizing them?
Yes.
Because you were saying about that soap example. If you make it digitalized and get a feedback of that, don't you feel that we are making it complicated instead of making it easy?
So, we are not digitalizing the soap dispenser at all. What we are digitalizing is to enable this person to come and complain or to sense it automatically saying something which is wrong. Like the example of the room which I said, if there are 3 times or 4 times people walk in and after 5 minutes they exit particular room and go to the second meeting room, the person sitting in the control room automatically know there is something wrong in this particular meeting. You don't need a person to come and complain to you there is something wrong. So why is that people walk in and after 5 minutes they just exit? And how am I doing it? I'm doing it with a lighting sensor, which saves energy for me. At the same time, it gives me extra information. So, when I say digitalization, like the camera example, we're not going to put 2,000 cameras. We're going to use all the cameras in this particular room and still ensure we are secure. So, we're not going to digitalize it, or we are not going to change everything. We're going to keep the same as it is, but we are going to improve the efficiency. That's all what digitalization means. So the campus of the future. So first, we spoke a lot with related to being digitally connected. And to the next generation and for the next generation is what we call it as campus of the future. And these are the 4 topics which we saw so far. And there are a lot more examples, but I wanted to pause a bit for any other questions, any other discussions what you wanted to have, because I have a lot many in this particular slide, but I wanted to ensure what you have in mind so far, or what you thought about it coming into this, what questions you have which I may have an answer or I can take the question. What is that you wanted to ask? Out of the box, outside the syllabus.
Sir, I have a question.
Please.
As you have mentioned that Siemens is using number 3 operating system.
Yeah.
So, as you have mentioned that the people are, you will be getting access of in industry only. So, if a student wants to access this operating system, is it possible?
Yes. So you will have to Google something called as MindSphere.
So, is it
When you go into it, you can subscribe yourself to be a developer. Just like you become an Android developer, you create a game, you put it to the marketplace, and then someone buys that particular app, you get paid, right? It's the royalty comes back to you. Similar to that, when you go into this particular platform, you become a developer, there is data available with that, and you make something out of it. When I say an app, right? So we spoke about, let's take this example of a soap dispenser or a meeting room where I'm talking about. You create something with this particular thing, either it is an app, a solution, or a dashboard, or say for an example, an IoT-enabled platform to do this. I'm talking about as a developer, there's plenty which you could do. You can put that back into this ecosystem of MindSphere, and you could sell it as a student. Now, all you have to do is, it's open, you don't want to contact me, just go to MindSphere, subscribe yourselves to be a developer. So that's why I say the number 3 operating system, because all of the industries can do this particular thing. There is no other operating system, just example of Apple and Google, whatever I gave you, like an Android or an iOS. There is no operating system specifically for the industry which can do vast amounts. I'm talking about industry, I'm talking about infrastructure, I'm talking about transportation, I'm talking about healthiness and lot many things. So whatever we are present and what we are not even present in some cases, which our partner is present, you can use the data, you can convert that into a solution, and that's what Mindsphere is all about, openness.
Thank you.
Any kind of student resources?
So any kind of student resources for
Students
in
in terms of electronics or computers.
okay, so yeah, we have a lot of interns like the kind of dual work programs and etc. We're talking about in the cases whatever I mentioned. 3 years they do in the campus and 1 year they are with us. We select top minds. Again, I cannot give it for 100 people. Let's say for about 10 people, they join us 1 year. They just work in our project. And then they get their certification. So we call this as, okay, definitely I cannot give you academics, but what I can give you is experience for the students. And secondly, there are projects which you do in your campus, but the thought process, your HOD sits in Siemens. He tells you, okay, what should be the project we should be doing? If I'm talking about zero emission, okay, what should be the project you could do? So the idea comes from us and telling you, okay, this is the project which you could do. The guidance comes to you. And I'm a mentee, as well as a mentor, where I do the mentorship for students, telling them it's not just the university, but how can they develop their profile in terms of making themselves the industry ready. So this is something which I can speak about my experience. Likewise, there are various examples which, based on the interest, again, it is always win-win. So what you want, which is what is that is available with us, we can handshake, and that's what is coming from partnership. Any other questions? So quickly, I'll run through the rest of the slides. So I spoke about many things, but this is what, let's consider this to be your campus. And some of the examples I have written down over here. And let's take one example on the right-hand side. Cyber security. So let's take about either the project, what you do, or say for an example, the infrastructure, what you have, which is related to, let's say, the fees which is being made in that, or all your question papers. And I'm an example I'm talking about. How secure are these? Or can I disrupt something? Let's say there is an important exam going on. What if I'm able to hack into your electrical system and switch off the lights for that particular day? So there are a lot more examples. What if I'm able to disrupt the grid power to this particular area? So everything lies in this particular thing on cybersecurity, on the infrastructure we're talking about. It's not just about keeping your mobiles and laptops virus free. There's a lot many other things which can be done. But it's up to the target, it's up to the interest of the hacker in terms of what he wants to do. Now, if I take one more example, is e-charging infrastructure. So, if you wanted to, let's say, you gave an example of driving an e-car, right? So, what happens? Do we have an infrastructure for EV charging in this campus, in this around the town? Like you as a staff, let's say, you have a place where you stay. Do you have a connectivity of EV chargers available between the place where you stay and to the place where you work? So this is what we're talking about, the smart campus. Smart campus is just not the buildings we're talking about. It's the entire ecosystem around it. And if you look at here, we spoke with related to safety, security, and a lot many other stuff. But do you have a question on any of these topics which I can give you a relatable example? Do you want to understand any of these so that I can give you an example on that?
Can you explain this distributed energy system?
Yes, so when it comes to distributed energy systems, we're talking about there is only one place where we get the power, it's from the grid. Now that is being produced, let's say whether it is water, thermal, coal, whatever you can call it, right? But the point here is that it is one source. But when it comes to DES, your solar connected to the grid. Or say for an example is that your home which is producing electricity. Or say for an example is the windmill, which is I have seen from indoor to here. I have seen some places where the windmill is. So this combining this into one single circuit, wherein it's not always the one source we are talking about. The energy systems here is completely decentralized. You don't rely upon one single source. Today, across the country, we are talking about what? Coal shortage. So if coal was supposed to be the only source of the electricity what we have, so in the next few days, everyone is going to have a problem, which is not the case in many other places, right? There are alternates, but at the same time, are we sustainable enough? If there is no power in the grid, I'm just giving you an example, if there is no power in the grid because of coal shortage or because of grid failure, whatever it is it something which your town and your campus can it be powered on its own? The answer to can it be powered is yes, but how do I do it is the smartness. And I gave you an example of our factory. If there is no power from the grid, I can run my factory for at least half the day, every day. Because 50% of the power for us is coming from solar for the factory, which is high consuming equipment, I would say. It's not just for the building I'm talking about. So the providing this alternate, the battery storage you can call it, or hydrogen you can call it. There's a lot of alternative powers which you could do it. So that's what we call it under DES. And there's a lot more which I promised Anand, where I would say we need to have a separate discussion on this particular topic when it comes to the energy and energy performance. We'll give you a lot more information on this particular stuff, specifically on the energy, if that's an interest. Any other questions from the list? I'm not getting any questions from the students back.
Please elaborate fire safety.
Okay, so fire safety, if I have to give a real life example, we all know smoke detectors, right? Right? So the thing is, if I put a smoke detector in a coffee vending machine area, just giving you an example, and if I put the same smoke detector in a garage where there is a fumes coming out of your car exhaust, say for an example, is the smoke detector able to differentiate this is coming from something which is burning, this is coming from the coffee machine which is just sending out some fumes, or this is coming from the car which is just driving in the garage? So this differentiation of the smoke is something which I call it as the intelligence on the smoke detector. But what we are talking about specifically as the university is, let's say tomorrow morning, let's say I'll give an example, 9 o'clock is the time when the university starts, okay? So everyone is going to come in. But you as a management decide nobody should come in tomorrow. Because there is something which has happened. Let's say I saw a big, I think distribution station or something that's related to electricity, which is just coming up outside of the road. Let's say I have a transformer blast or something like that. Now I don't want students to come in. How are you going to communicate to them? Or let's say for an example is that there is a emergency, a flood-like situation, I would say. How are you going to reach to your students? How are you going to reach, or say for an example, how is a student is going to declare? So what is the way you declare today? Let's say I'm alive during that situation. Let's say your parents live elsewhere and they don't know that you are safe in that particular town, your phones are not working. How do you communicate? Where do you leave the message? Nobody is in this flood situation or emergency situation, is it? So you go to your Facebook and you say that you are alive, right? You are alive. You declare the status. So do I have a control room which can pick up all the status and say, okay, these many students are okay? So in fire safety, it's not just about the example of detection, which I said. It's also important of handling scenarios of the gunman, which I said. Handling scenarios which is related to asking people not to come into it. Let's say you're traveling in a metro, just giving you an example. There is a threat in the next station. Okay? I have to inform to not to deboard you in that particular metro and you say skip this particular station. Now, how do I tell you? There are so many displays inside the metro. Everything is digital. I connect and say, please don't deboard at the next station. Train will stop, but please don't deboard. If I have to send you a silent message, right? In a scenario of, let's say, even not giving you an example of a gunman, but some other scenario, let's say, I have a tiger roaming around. Okay, may not be a tiger, maybe a cheetah, which is roaming around on the campus. How do you kill everyone? Are you going to panic everyone and everyone will start running? So sometimes you need to send silent messages. The silent message is scrolling like the news flash, which can go on this particular computer because this is connected. The security at the control room can put a silent message here. So it happens many times in Mumbai. It tells you, leave today at 4 o'clock, there is going to be high tide. If I don't leave at 4 o'clock and wait till 6 o'clock, the regular thing, I will not reach home today. I will reach tomorrow morning because of the traffic. So there are many things, advantages of being in Mumbai and so many disadvantages of being in a city like that. But the point here is that those kind of messages, it's not about putting in a PO system and asking everyone to, okay, please disperse in an orderly fashion. No, that's not the one which we're talking about. We're talking about ensuring everyone is safe. We're talking about ensuring these silent messages are being delivered. We're talking about doing a head count when there is an emergency. If we all evacuate, right now, can the fire safety system tell me how many people came into this university and how many people are assembled? Yes, you may say that, okay, these many people gave attendance. Will it count me as a visitor today? I must be last in the list. But when I have a digitalized system, it can tell you, okay, there was 101%, there is one person extra in this room. There was a human being extra. Or, for an example, let's all evacuate this campus and you do a head count. 1,000 people are supposed to be assembled. There are 2 people less. Where will you go and search? What is supposed to happen today? If 2 people are missing, what is supposed to happen? You will have to tell this quick reaction team or floor wardens or whatever you can call them or a security guard, go and search every room, there are 2 students missing, right? But what if the system can tell me there are 2 people lying unconscious on some staircase, which is based on the heat what I generate because of the movement. When I move, again, giving an example of this lighting sensor. The reason is that that sensor detects my movement, right? So it can tell me this was the last known location of 2 human beings, and I see some movement here. Because if there is nobody, all the lights are supposed to go off, right? There are 2 lights which is on, and there is some movement. So you can focus the security or the people who can, evacuate them to that particular area rather than sending 100 people to search the entire campus to retrieve these 2 people. You can target. That's what we mean by pricing. Yeah.
Sir, what is demand side management and role of demand side management in micro?
Yeah. So when it comes to demand side management, let's say when the electricity is produced, it is produced to the consumers. You are a consumer at your home, right? Your university is a consumer here in this particular campus. But what is the balance between supply and the demand? Let's take a simple example of a cooling system or a HVAC system we are talking about. To keep you in comfort, let's say instead of this particular split AC, if you're having a chiller, which is going to be the centralized air conditioning room, right? You might have been in those particular area. Now, how much of chillness, how much of chilled water do I need to supply into it? This is how much is being consumed. Is that people occupied in that particular area? Or when it comes to the electricity, how is the consumption? How am I managing the supply versus demand? It's a simple answer which I could give you. But this you can apply it in terms of industries. You can apply it in terms of peak summers. You can, when it comes to the grid, this is what we're talking about in terms of how both of this supply side and demand side. And when it comes to optimization on the demand side, you don't increase the electricity bill of your home, but you still consume extra. How do you do it? how can you, let's say for an example, I spoke to you about my factory which is running on 50% solar, right? Now, if I go to Goa, in Goa, there are two things. There are two aspects of when I consume the power in a day, I have X amount which I have to pay. If I consume the same thing at night, I have to pay X amount. Now I can choose which is the cheapest one, and I can consume that time coming from the grid, and the time which I have to pay extra, I can consume from the battery, which is coming from solar or other renewable resources which I generate. So this is what the demand side efficiency is.
So what about lab control?
So when it comes to lab control, so here specific things when you have labs, you also have these fumes which is generated out of this particular lab. And talking about Serum is very famous because all of us are getting our vaccines from there, for example. It's coming from an industry called as pharma, right? Pharma industry. So when these tablets and medicines are being manufactured, when this particular raw material for manufacturing moves from one room to another room, there is something called as a temperature control. Or say for an example, you cannot let the what is produced, whether it is a gas or whether it is some kind of chemical which is produced in the first room to mix with the next room, because it is going to change this particular medicine, right? So similarly, in a lab where you do your findings, testings, and all that particular thing, how do you ensure this particular fumes is exhausted, or say for an example, taken out very safely? So there's an example which I could give related to lab controls and much more to that. Any other questions? And thank you for your question which related to distributed energy. Any questions on this side? Okay, so how about the time? So this is an interesting slide which I wanted to show you all. How many of you are able to relate at least one or two aspects in this? So what does it say? It starts with, your calendar, right? What is the class for today? Correct? This is what at least some of you would wake up with saying that, okay, what class should I attend today? Right? No? So I don't really look at it. I had examples of studying for a wrong exam, to be frank with you. So this is an example. This is student life, right? The life of a student starts here and it ends when you are back home. But these are some of it. What I'm trying to tell you is about, am I able to bring all of these experience into one single computer, which is in your hand, which is your mobile phone, right? So you look at the calendar, then here, where is this class going on today? So how many of you were asked to come into this particular meeting room at 11:30, 11:15, or whatever it is? How was it communicated? Sorry? So how difficult is it? How about your calendar, which is on your mobile, telling you this is the place you have to be here? And at the same time, I'll give you an example. When I walked into this particular campus, or when there is a, let's say you have a student exchange program, there is a new student coming into the gate, like me, someone landed today morning. Now, where is the dean's office? How many people did I disturb? I asked the security and he agreed to come along with me. And somebody at the entrance received me. Okay, maybe meant to, and he took me to the dean office. There are 4 people who are disturbed in their day-to-day life today. Now, as a student, is it possible for you to take the security along with you? How do you know that what is this location? I'm talking about as a new student, you're coming into this particular campus. My own office to get understood which office is where, whose cabin is where is the cafeteria, where is the canteen, where to park, it took me about 7 months. Yeah, with a large campus. And like yours, little more for a newcomer into this particular, how confused will you be? So word of mouth is one thing. Keep checking. Okay, where to go? Where is this? Where is it going to be? This center? Where is this lab? Where is this library? As simple as where is the washroom? Can my mobile tell me inside this particular building, okay, right now I'm here, I want to use the washroom, like I'm sitting like you, I wanted to get out and use the washroom. Is it possible? I don't know where is the washroom. I'll have to call two people and ask, okay, where is the washroom? Now, is that a good experience or my mobile, which is telling me, okay, I click washroom, it tells me list of washrooms and tell me you are in this particular location and you walk 2 steps, take left, go straight, you will find the washroom. It is telling me an indoor navigation. If Google is able to tell me in an unknown territory, it can tell me how to go to Mars maybe in future. Right? How many of you are rolling down on your window and asking, let's say, okay, if you come to Mumbai, how many of you will be comfortable asking a rickshaw wala where to go? Or how many of you are willing to look at your mobile with Google? You're so comfortable looking at your Google, right? Today, an Ola guy in Mumbai, he doesn't know any places. He just looks at the display. It tells him to go right, he goes right. If it tells him to take left, he takes left. Even if the bridge is closed, he goes to the end of the bridge and says, "Sir, ये bridge को बांध दे." अरे फिर इसमें क्यों आया? मेरे को कैसे पता? नहीं सर, Google तो यही बता रहा है. We cannot fly, right? So the point here is, it's making us comfortable, right? Swiggy, where is my food? Is he picked it? Is he on the way? Did he pass the chalk? Is he coming to my apartment? He's coming to it. Point here is navigation. It makes you the comfort, right? So here, if you look at it with related to getting there, this is what I mean by giving you that particular experience. How am I keeping you in comfort if you are the newcomer into this particular university, or even after so many, let's say 2 years or so, you have to rely on word of mouth to come into this particular meeting room at 10, 11:15. Next, your attendance and access, wherein, say for an example, is that connectivity, classroom, and attendance, and lot many other things. How do you give the attendance today? Are we old school? Are we advanced? Is a question we are talking about. Do I need to even take an attendance? When I do an event in office, we don't look for who's in. We just generate a report. This card, what I have, is going to give me a report saying that, okay, how many people came into this particular room? So the point here is, how am I going to make people not to spend that extra giving feedback to Vodafone and Airtel? No time, right? Focused on only with related to learning, right? That's what we mean with related to the student's life. So this is about the experience what we create. Any other question you guys have? So this is the soap dispenser case which I'm talking about. So when it comes to the soap dispenser, if you are here and something is not working, you are sitting right now in this particular room. Let's say one of that particular AC is not giving you impact. Okay? So let's say that person who's sitting at the end is not feeling comfortable. So what is he supposed to do? Is he going to wake up, go and find the facility guy and tell him, okay, yahan pe AC adjust karna padega? Is it possible he will not come out because there is a session going on? But if I'm able to have a reporting issue on his mobile phone or any other system which he's going to use for this particular university, how easy for him to simply say, okay, something is not right for me. Now this you could apply everywhere. I'm talking about you walk into, let's say, the T2 terminal in Delhi. Where is your gate? Is it going to navigate you to that particular gate? Is it going to tell you it is going to take 12 minutes from the time you do your security check? You see the boards at times. The point is, let's say you are in the duty free or etc. This is going to tell you this is the time it is going to take you to reach this particular gate. Indoor navigation, that's what we call with related to getting there. And when it comes to reporting issues, so this is where you walk into the office. Let's say the projector not working, you're not getting an internet connection, or say for an example as simple as something is not, you're not happy. Let's say your university decides to have a new vending machine, let's say a coffee or any other dispenser. If you don't like it, how will you communicate it? Because if you don't communicate it, the vending machine is not going to change. You want to live with it for months. right? If each of you communicate saying that, okay, I'm not happy with this particular valuation, yes, the vendor is going to be changed. But the point is, at what moment the management receives this feedback? How do they receive this feedback? So what is the methodology to get that? So that's what we're talking about, reporting issues. And here, booking spaces, which is again with related to, let's say you wanted to, there is one lab or one center of competence or one area which you can do your hands on, and there are 200 people. Point is, few of you wanted to do a hands on. Is it available for tomorrow? Not available for tomorrow. Can I book it in advance? Or do I need to go and tell people saying that, sir, I need this particular thing, can I reserve this particular thing? Or go and wait outside saying that, okay, is it going to be free? So those are something which is, you can relate at least one of this particular example in your day-to-day life as a student, which can be solved with the solutions from Smart Campus. Any questions in this slide? Anybody wanted to give any more examples? You can sit here.
Do you think the educational institute should transform from traditional form to smart form?
From what to what?
Traditional form to smart form.
Can you give me a little more specific example?
When you read a book in physical mode,
Uh,
when you read a book in physical mode, you get satisfied while reading in smart or digital package. For
Okay.
example, if you come to Google Space or Google Working Condition, the Google offices providing outside working facilities. Now they are employees are expected to work in outside and smart Google walls. How can you analyze?
Okay, so maybe it's little out of the box for me, but I can still answer this saying, for an example, if you as a student or if you as a faculty feels that this is going to make you the experience better, then yes, that change is really required. But if you feel that particular change is going to invade you into your privacy, it is going to measure you, okay, how are you reading? Earlier, if I give you a book, whether you read or you don't read is up to you. But if I'm going to make it digital and I can measure you saying that, okay, are you really reading it? Because I looked at it the next day, professor is coming and telling you, I assigned this chapter to you and last 6 months you haven't read it. Just giving example, just talking from an outsider perspective, nothing to do with the smart campus which I'm talking about. But if it is going to improve the experience, if it is going to help you with related to the, what I call it, if you call that to be the smartness is equal to a better experience, and if everyone agrees, when I say everyone agrees is when you try it and that is going to give you a benefit, there is a win-win between faculty and the students. Yes, the particular upgrade is really worth. If not, it is nice to have. That's my answer as an outsider.
So,
Yeah.
what studies do you generally perform to set the parameters? To set the parameters to this level, we should go for the optimization of the automation system in a project.
So this is, you specifically said this word project because that is what I wanted to insist, saying that it is always different from project to project. There are certain projects wherein the efficiency is zero from the day one. And there are certain projects wherein the efficiency goes on after 3 years, 4 years, for an example. So the data, what we collect, like if I have to answer this for your facility, I cannot answer you by, let's say, okay, sir, come tomorrow, let's go around the walk, let's look at everything, and at the end of the day, I'll come and give you a report. Not possible. I will have to look at least 6 months of data for the benchmark, which you can call it as a KPI or say, for an example, baseline definition. For that, I need to look at this particular data. This data needs to be a digitalized form. I'm talking about your electrician measuring the voltage in a paper so far. I'm just giving you example, or your security guard who's looking at how many people are coming in, for an example. The correlation of this particular data coming from my experience of handling 10,000 sets, because we have this platform wherein we call it as Navigator, which gives me this particular benchmark saying that, okay, this is the global benchmark, for an example. But how do I compare that particular thing with your specific data will be the answer from my side, where it's a promise which is coming to you. Okay, this is what the benchmark, and you are crossing this particular benchmark, or you're falling behind this particular benchmark. By doing this particular improvement, you will be able to attain your benchmark at this cost. And at that particular cost can be recovered over months or over a year and etc. That's how the promise comes back. So point here is that the single piece of information in deciding this particular thing is the data. And we are good at doing that only aspect of data analysis, wherein when you look at this particular data, minimum 6 months of data is what we always demand for every project. If that particular thing is not there, we say, sir, we put in sensors to collect the data for the next 6 months. We don't give you the answer the very next month. Because when I give you that particular basemark or bench line, what you call it, it is always wrong. So the data analysis of 6 months is minimum required to give you the so-called baseline. So that's how I answer it project to project. But if you give me a very specific challenge, or if you give me a specific parameter, we can come out with an answer.
Sir, the automation differs from project to project.
Yeah.
But approximately what may be the payback period for a particular project?
So if you are looking at
how productive it will be.
So if you are looking at, let's say we are only talking about the lighting, I'm just giving you an example. Now, if you just convert from the old way of lighting to the LED, you know that you always save 50% of the electricity. Now, this is something which I can blindly say, okay, when you upgrade your lighting system, you can save 50% of it. But when you add an additional sensor, which is going to switch on when there is only a movement, or when you add a sensor, right now, let's say these blinds, these doors are closed, right? When you open this particular thing, the sunlight is going to fall inside. Now, if the sunlight is going to fall inside, it is going to be brighter on your side and it is going to be dimmer on this side. So, which means if I'm able to operate this light at 10%, this light at 20%, this one at 30 and this one at 70, because there is enough illumination which is coming in. If I'm able to correlate this, then I can tell you, say for an example, is that this is what the differentiation of the plus 30% is, whether you will be achieving 27% or you will be achieving only 15% more. So this is what I mean by example of the data which I'm talking about. So I can blindly say till 50%, I can commit to you, saying that okay, you do this particular automation or you do this particular upgrade, your ROI is going to be from 1.2 years, 50% is going to come, easy calculation, simple. But from 50 to 80% of saving, that 30% which I'm additional, which I'm going to give you. That is something is what decided, let's say, either adding a sensor or also bringing in a human aspect. Let's say, what is human aspect? If you're talking about this HVAC or air conditioning, we're talking about, I might need it at 21 degree, you might need it at 25 degree, he might need it at little extra of 27 degree, or today you're not feeling well, you wanted to be shut off, for an example. Now, this human feedback has to be communicated back to the equipment. And that is again a differentiation which we're talking about, saying that from 50, am I going to 85% or 87%? So this differentiation will give me that variation of whether the ROI is going to come in 1.2 years or is it going to come in 3 years. So that's an example, sir. Certain things like the 50% of signing with related to LED, simple calculation, I can tell you this is the ROI. But there is always much more to do beyond the simple calculation of 50%. And this difference of 30-35% is what is says.
Last year, some of our students from the mechanical engineering and electrical engineering, they did a project wherein they designed an e-scooter. So I saw that it was working fine. But there was something bugging my mind, which I want to share with you, which I can share with the students as well. That is, after a few hours, you have to recharge the battery. So what I told them was, can you invent some material or some methodology wherein the scooter or four-wheeler or whatever the movements of the machines is, whether they can be charged on the move. Like, for example, what I want to share with you is, there is a lot of wind energy available while on move. There is a solar energy available while on move.
Yeah,
What examples you gave were the rotors of the windmill, etc.
right.
So they are stationary, meaning thereby we have to take our vehicle to some charging point at some point of time.
Correct.
So can we invent some material which absorbs the heat energy from the sun and converts the same to, and stored into some form wherein the further mobility of the vehicle is possible. This idea may be sounding weird today, but maybe a futuristic thing. So I had sounded this thing to my students. So if the students say, for example, their mind is tickling in this direction, can Siemens help them to do some project likewise?
First thing, the project is very awesome, and these are the kind of inventions which we as a company encourage, because we are sustained of 175 years or more is because of such inventions. If we don't invent, we perish. Now, this is a very good example, or I would say a good project what you guys are doing. And yes, this is the space wherein we can bring in our best minds and say that how this can be applied. Say for an example is that we are just talking about how quick the battery replacement can happen. One more adding problem to the invention. Say for an example is that, okay, do I have to rely on the one battery which I have to put it on a charging station, or I just change it? Today that's how the world is moving, right? So yes, in these particular area, our best of the minds, where we call it as the energy engineers, or say for an example is that we have some platforms wherein we encourage people to invent, or even startups for an example. There, yes, we will be able to bring in our best of the minds wherever we have experience. Yes. Of this specific one, we can discuss it further in terms of how best, because this is what we do with the cars, the electric car. And today, there are a lot of examples which is coming out from Europe with related to Siemens and the car manufacturers' collaboration with related to the e-mobility. Now, same thing can be applied to a scooter.
Thanks so much. And I also want to know in the same breath, that is remote e-charging.
Right.
We are connecting to the batteries to some source today. Can it happen, like you gave the example of the mobiles, etc., etc.?
Yes.
Can those batteries be charged remotely?
So,
and if we haven't thought of, are we thinking of? And in case our students take on this project, can Siemens help them?
So this is what exactly happens in e-mobility. When there is a bus which is moving around in a city, it consumes. But there are places where the bus stops, which is in the parking, it is in the signal, and lot many other places. When the bus is stopped, it charges. Today, talking about, there are cities where Siemens has done it. We have the product. When the bus is not moving, it is charging. And now, okay, whether it is wireless charging or not wireless charging is a question. But we have a solution wherein when the bus charges, when the bus is in the movement, it consumes, but when it comes to a standstill, there is an equipment which helps the bus to charge because it is stopped in a bus stop.
No, I'm talking something different. That is because the source is available there at the bus stop.
Yes.
I'm talking about the bus is drawing energy from some different remote source.
So I exactly understood the ask, but the point here is that this is of invention. So when it comes to the invention, or say for an example, maybe it is in the ideation. I don't know whether Siemens already has this particular thing, but this can be put into, we call it as an idea booster. So for say for an example, list of challenges which is expected. Now, yes, when you apply it, my mind may not have an answer, but the best of the abilities from Siemens would have an answer to this. But what I'm trying to give you is a relatable example of what we use for the e-mobility. But today, with whatever you're using your mobile for wireless charging, but still, even in wireless charging, if you look at it in your car dashboard or in your desk, there is always a pad which is connected and you're placing it on top of it when it is charging. Similar to the e-mobility example which I said, the bus comes to a standstill. But what you're asking is, even when it is in the move, whether it can be charged. Can I put a solar roof on the car, or say for an example, etc. But the point here is, yes, these are the challenges which we will have answers in the next 2 decades. In the sense, say for an example, is that every year there is a new aspect which is coming with related to this EV space.
Thanks so much.
So what is the main point was, when we talk of collaboration and controlling, where can Siemens and university collaborate in terms of some projects. So that is where we wanted your opinion. Can you do it in that manner?
So, if I go through some of it here, if you look at it, when we are talking about in this particular space, you can see this particular thing where, just give me an example. Yeah, this one, if you look at it, so it's there. The point here is that to the detail in terms of what is the so-called win-win, what is your need versus what is that we have, is something which we need to discuss it across. The answer is yes, we can look at exploring this particular topic, but the point here is that to the specific, in terms of, as I said, the academics is you, experience is me. That's what this handshake is all about.
No, we'll bring those kinds of problems to you, which your company is also
Sure.
looking for this. So we will work it, we can work jointly.
Yes, so that's what the last slide which I was holding it back to bring it to this. I believe that this is more related to the focus while, beyond the research and academic and etc. The partnership, what we will be able to bring it on board is what you are looking for. So this is something, yes, we can discuss it across going forward.
Yeah. One more thing is, so far, whatever you do is based on applications of technology by using the available devices around us.
Yeah.
And they want to basically most of them are going to be software driven, and some applications are what you want to do. And so far, you have never thought of implementation or by some equipment or something else and all that. Is it coming forward, or we want to use the smart means?
No, it's not limited to that. But what I was trying to tell you is, where the future, or say for an example, the smartness is moving forward. But the point here is, yes, you still need the base, you still need the wall to draw. The point here is, those are something maybe I'm not talking about today in this particular presentation. I told him I will be sharing with him a separate energy efficiency specific topic, which I'm not presenting it today, but I will be sharing with both of you in terms of what we do on specific projects, what am I doing it in one of the IITs and etc., which I told you. It's yes, it is hardware to begin with. It's not just an app which can solve all the problems. But the point here is that what we try to bring in is that make use of available investment. That's what the first point is. It's not about rip and replace and say, okay, by replacing it you get an ROI. That's not the approach what we generally take. So I leave you with this particular slide, which talks about, okay, what Colonel wanted here. This is something what we understand, and what a facility manager of this particular university would be interested with, what is his challenges, and if we have a role, I'm sure that someone is wearing this cap of a sustainability manager could be dean as well. What is his expectation from the campus? And then here is with related to, we spoke about researchers and partnership and all that. So this is the summary of the KPIs, and this could drive into the smart solutions. This could drive into the partnership what we spoke about. This could drive into a joint project, or this could drive into a joint invention. We don't know. But the point here is that this is something which, from our understanding, sir, we are trying to showcase, saying that, okay, this is what we picked up as 4 important points, which may be today a pain point, or say for an example, expectations out of what we have. And we can look at in terms of like-mindedness, in terms of, yes, I see in this particular area there is already a lot of expectation, but what is that other areas also where we could collaborate is something which I would say is the moving forward. So, any questions? So I think you're all hungry already. Good. So, what is the question you have for tomorrow? You spent 2 hours here already. What is your takeaway? I'm sure when you are hungry, mind won't work, right? So I want to leave you with some questions. I want you to think like your dean. I want you to think like someone who's responsible for sustainability, because tomorrow you're going to sit in this chair, right? You're all studying today, or you are preparing all your academics either to be like me here participating in this particular conference to explain what experience I have, or to sit in this particular chair. A lot more, expectations you guys have. But if you are thinking like your dean, if you are thinking like your management, what are the questions you have out of what you just saw today? I want to leave you with this. Now, I'm not going to spend much time on it. I'm just going to stay on these slides. If you have any questions, I can look at it. But the point here is that, one, from student perspective, how you're focusing with related to the academics at the same time improving your experience. But what are all the other things? Maybe some of these questions is what will lead us in terms of how we need to look at the project KPIs going forward. So with that, I will share this presentation. You will get it from your management, whatever relevant slides which you guys are invested. The entire slide deck, I will share it with you, sir. And if you are able to even recollect, or say for an example, connect with one of the examples which I gave you, I will be happy. And I'm available on LinkedIn if you have any questions, if you need any support, or always you can reach out from your management. So I rest, and thank you for listening to me for this many time. And I'm sorry for keeping you wait for your lunch.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, I would like to request our dynamic chancellor, sir, to please put your hands together.
Thank you very much, Mr. Marappan. You came all the way from Bombay to this place. I'm sorry it's a remote place and it is difficult to reach here, but we are really grateful to you. We shall always be looking forward to having many more visits of you. And we shall, my vice chancellor and other people will definitely be discussing in details the presentation that you made and see if this could be made possible. Yes, I have an ambition to make this campus more lively and smarter than what it is today. And I hope Siemens would be helping us in this endeavor. Thank you very much.
So